Welcome. In this orientation, we're going to introduce a structured system for transforming your technical expertise into a professional book. The entire system is built on one key idea, that effective writing isn't just about recording what you know, it's about carefully organizing that knowledge for the mind of your reader.
So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll move through 6 sections. First, we'll define exactly who this system is for, and then we'll establish a really precise definition of technical writing itself. From there, we'll examine the common reasons that beginner books tend to fail, which will lead us directly to the 3 foundational principles of this system. And finally, we'll review the professional toolkit you're going to develop and talk about the path forward.
So first things first, let's clarify who this course has been designed for. This course is specifically for engineers, developers, researchers, and other subject matter experts. It's built on a critical premise. Just having technical knowledge, on its own, is not enough to produce an effective technical book. There's a common assumption that expertise translates directly into clear writing, but in practice, that's rarely the case. And that distinction brings us right to the core of our subject. We have to treat technical writing as its own professional discipline, one that requires a very specific approach. So what is it exactly? Well, the primary purpose of technical writing is not to entertain or impress. Its function is utility. The whole objective is to inform with absolute clarity, to guide with accuracy, and to enable a reader to perform a task or understand a complex system. Really, the value of the work is measured entirely by its usefulness. To make this definition even sharper, it's helpful to contrast it with other forms of writing. You see, while entertainment writing is all about narrative and emotion, technical writing is built on a foundation of structure and clarity. Its fundamental purpose is to guide, and its value is found in its immediate, practical utility. Understanding this distinction actually helps us identify the common reasons that so many technical books fail to achieve their purpose. This is a really critical question for any aspiring author. The good news is, the most common failures are predictable, which means they're also preventable. They almost always stem from just a few fundamental errors in the author's approach. The most common point of failure, by far, is the absence of a coherent structure. An author might write chapters in isolation, and this leads to repetition and conceptual gaps. Another major issue is excessive verbosity, using too many words, which actually dilutes authority. Many authors also start writing without a clearly defined reader in mind, and a surprising number publish what are essentially just first drafts. It comes down to this: effective technical books are not simply written, they are engineered. Now, to prevent these failures, we're going to use a methodical framework that's built on 3 foundational principles. These principles are reader-centered design, logical architecture, and disciplined revision. Together, these form a deliberate process for creating work that is clear, well-structured, and genuinely useful to the reader. So, let's look at the first principle, reader-centered design. A technical book must be written for a very specific, well-defined audience. Before any drafting even begins, the author has to determine precisely who the reader is, what problem they need to solve, and what outcome they expect from reading the book. Our second principle is logical architecture. A technical book has to be structured before it's written. And the table of contents, well, it's not just decoration. It is the blueprint for the entire project. Each chapter must build upon the previous one in a deliberate, logical sequence. This is how you prevent confusion. And that brings us to our third principle, disciplined revision. You see, writing is fundamentally an iterative process. A first draft often just serves to clarify the author's own thinking. But clarity for the reader, that emerges only through the process of rewriting. This is where sentences get tightened, concepts are refined, and the entire manuscript is strengthened. This revision process is absolutely central to establishing credibility. When you adhere to these principles, you begin to develop a professional toolkit, one that enables you to produce work at a consistent, high standard. So, this course is designed to provide you with a clearly defined book concept, a complete structural framework, a solid writing methodology, and a systematic process for revision. This all culminates in a professional publishing roadmap and, maybe most importantly, a repeatable system that you can apply to all of your future projects. The overarching objective here is to produce work that meets a professional standard. Let's conclude now by returning to the core philosophy that guides this entire process. This single idea is the central tenet of our entire approach. A published work is a direct representation of its author's credibility and intellectual discipline. True authority isn't demonstrated by making things complex, it's demonstrated by the ability to explain complex subjects with clarity and precision. Therefore, our approach to this work is going to be serious and methodical. This course treats technical book writing as a professional craft. We will always emphasize clarity over ornamentation, structure over spontaneity, and discipline over improvisation. In the next module, we begin with the foundations of technical writing.